Ed Warren almost died of a heart attack during an exorcism. Stay tuned after this. What's up, Grayson Report? I am back with another video, and today we are going to talk about Ed and Lorraine Warren's grandson and one of the cases that he recalls that Ed had almost died of a heart attack during an exorcism. If you're not familiar with Ed and Lorraine Warren, they are probably one of the most famous paranormal investigators known in the paranormal community. We wouldn't have the movies The Conjuring, Annabelle, The Nun, Amityville Horror if it wasn't for them. I'm very skeptical when it comes to Ed and Lorraine Warren. I used to be a true believer, but the more that I read about them, the more that I am super skeptical about them. Unfortunately, they're no longer here to defend themselves, and only them would really know what happened, truthfully. But we now have their grandson, and now I'm beginning to kind of believe him, because he's really the only time I've ever heard about their grandson was with the Annabelle doll. And if you're not familiar with the Annabelle doll, the Annabelle doll was on a tour, and Lorraine Warren had always said, do not move that doll. I don't believe that doll is haunted, but then at the same time, I wouldn't disrespect that doll and the things surrounding that doll. Like when it was in New Orleans, there was plantation fires, there were inmates that escaped. We also had, which I don't think it happened directly with the doll, but these incidents just make you think like maybe that doll is real. You know what I mean? So hearing from the grandson, it's kind of like, well, he was around them. I feel like maybe there is a reputable side to their stories. So Ed and Lorraine Warren's grandson recalls watching grandfather have a heart attack 10 feet away during an exorcism. So pictured on the left is Chris McKennell. That is Ed and Lorraine Warren's grandson, and Ed and Lorraine Warren are pictured on the right. For those of you that don't know who they are, Ed and Lorraine Warren's grandson is opening up about his family's paranormal work and legacy. Chris McKennell, son of the Warrens' daughter Judy Spear, appeared on the Real Appreciation podcast, where he spoke with hosts Maria Elizabeth Darnell and David Clare Bennett about his experiences working in the paranormal space with his grandparents. Asked if one particular incident sticks out to him most, McKennell explained, everything that I saw with them was extraordinary. I mean, not always evil, not always dangerous, but the first thing that comes to mind was a case I worked on with them that would be because my grandfather almost died. We were working on the possession of a man named Maurice Thorold, better known as Frenchie in the Nun series. McKennell recalled pausing to note that the films are absolutely fantasy. I know, and I totally understand why directors and writers do this. They're trying to make they want to make money. So I totally understand. They want to make it interesting. Sometimes real life stories aren't as interesting or doesn't come across as interesting when it's transferred to film. Most notably, I want to say the Monsters series that's on Netflix. For those of you that still have Netflix, catch the Ed Gein story. I know a lot of people are boycotting Netflix. I do know Ryan Murphy has taken liberties, especially with that Lyle and Eric Menendez story. And a lot of people had become fans of the Eric and Lyle Menendez because of that. And the way that he painted them, it kind of made it look like that they were innocent. And I personally feel like they're not 100% innocent. And I feel like their parents aren't here to tell their side of the story, unfortunately. And regardless of what they went through, it shouldn't have gone that far. He also did an on Jeffrey Dahmer, which I really liked. I didn't, the Eric and Lyle Menendez story wasn't as great. And I'm currently watching the Ed Gein. Again, it's on Netflix for those of you that still have it, if you guys want to check it out. Recalling the work he continued during the exorcism, I was protecting the bishop who was doing the exorcism. My grandfather was 10 feet away from me with my grandmother complaining he didn't feel well. And my grandmother looked at him and said, "Hey, Ed, why don't you have a banana? You're probably low on potassium." However, in reality, McKinnell says his grandfather was having a heart attack during the exorcism. Although his grandfather claimed to have been a clairvoyant and a light trance medium, McKinnell noted that she couldn't see her husband's health crisis. McKinnell says the experience left a lasting impression. "That's why I don't trust psychics, and I'm a psychic, but I don't trust anybody without evidence." He added, "My grandmother taught me the best psychics in the world are only right 60% of the time. That's a terrible average to bet your life on." McKinnell was also asked about how he balances his work in the paranormal, which he shares on the Warren Files channels, while also honoring his family legacy in the space. He admitted that it can be a difficult line to walk. "I love my grandparents. I respect my grandparents. They were wonderful mentors, but I learned a lot both to do and not to do," he said. "I guess I feel very uncomfortable with being respected because I have grandparents. Yes, I worked with my grandparents. Yes, I learned from them. That has a lot to do with me, but the fact that they were my grandparents shouldn't put me up above anybody at all," he added. "That's just silly to me." The Warren family name is legendary in the paranormal world as their cases inspired horror like the Annabelle and the Conjuring films. The two paranormal investigators founded the New England Society of Psychic Research, NESPR, in the 50s and worked on over 10,000 cases together, writing several books about their findings and experiences. Ed died in 2006 and Lorraine died 13 years later. So the question I have for you guys, for those of you that have been following Ed and Lorraine Warren's story, are you skeptical about them? And also, what is your favorite Conjuring, The Nun, Annabelle, Amityville horror movie? What out of those, which one is your favorite? Please comment below. And as always, please smash that like button, click that notification bell so you know when I have new videos, and subscribe, guys. Check out GraysonReport.com and become a member today. And I will have the details in the description below. As always, I will see you on the next one. Stay spooky and sweet nightmares.